Hi folks, this is your host Mandeep, and in today's video I wanted to introduce a new technical indicator that I've been working on for the last 6 months, and it's called the Fusion Edge Indicator. What makes this indicator unique is the simplicity it offers, and when I show it to you, you'll find that you can analyze any stock, whether it's a long shot or no touch, and you'll be able to analyze this irrespective of your trading level, whether you're a novice, an intermediate, or an expert trader. Now, while UTS remains the flagship product providing traders that have the signal who trade with me in the Discord room with specific buy sell signals and when to close the trade, Fusion Edge clearly identifies a trend, and like the UTS, it will also identify these trends on multiple time frames. But a trader will have to make their own determination, when to go long or short. But what I'm going to show you is that just simply looking at it, you'll be able to determine a long or a short entry for any stock. For users who already own the ultimate trading strategy, this is probably not something that they need to add to the arsenal, unless and until they like the visual aspect of it. Now, before we look at the indicator, I wanted to remind people what I originally developed in UTS, and which is something that's it's ongoing, and we continue to make enhancements to it. Now, we always looked at indicators in multiple time frames. So some of the indicators we looked at were the 9 period crossing the 21 on multiple time frames, right? So at minimum, we look at 4 time frames. We look at MACD to be positive on multiple time frames. We want to make sure there's no TTM squeeze on any of the time frames, and we're also looking at stocks that are trading above the Ichimoku cloud on multiple time frames, right? So those are something that you guys are already familiar with. Now, what I've done in addition to that, I've added some new indicators, and all of these are indicators that are working on multiple time frames. So one of the things that we've used in our room is an indicator called MAMA, which basically stands for the mother of all indicators. And we have determined that when this MAMA indicator crosses above the 34 exponential high, that gives us a good early entry. Now, instead of just looking at one time frame, we can now make the analysis on 4 different time frames. I've also added an indicator called RSI Laguerre, which uses fractal energy, and when RSI is greater than the fractal energy, which they call gamma, we get a trend, and I check that on 4 different time frames. The volatility-based ATR signal that we already have with UTS was was being used on a single time frame, and now I have enhanced it to work on multiple time frames. The Arun signal, which if you're not familiar with, you should check it out. It's standard and free with TOS. I've incorporated again to make it work on multiple time frames. I've also included the ADX indicator that determines the strength of the trend, and finally I have a relative strength indicator that in a way mimics the IBD relative strength. But when these things are stacked together like this, it kind of hard to make out, right, whether the stock is long or short. But obviously, you can make sort of a general assessment if it's green or green sort of across the board or not. And but when it is stacked like this, there are times you'll see a fair number of conflicts. And in order to simplify this, what I've done is I've taken all these signals and I have collapsed them into one signal, which is what I call the fusion edge. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you what the end result looks like and how simple it is to now analyze stocks, assuming you don't already have the ultimate trading strategy. So now what we've done is we've actually installed the fusion edge signal, which is on the bottom half, and on the chart what you see is 3 different colors, and it includes a signal, right? So let me show you what it includes. It includes a signal called the UTS underscore color coded bars, and at the bottom you see the fusion edge signal, and on the the grid next to it, it's exactly the same setup. What I've done is I'm using the 15-minute and the daily chart, because when you are on the 15, you're getting confirmation from 15, 30 hour day, and this is getting confirmation from day, 2 day, 3 day, and a week, right? So what is really simple about this is that when you look at the color-coded chart at the top, you have green, which means it's long. We have yellow, which is neutral, and yellow and red, which is some bearish. So it's as simple as that. And when you get a situation like this, now you don't need to wait for all time frames to be aligned, but it's nice to have 2 to 3 time frames aligned, and the chart color to be turned green. Now in this case, right around here, you could have entered the trade, right? So when it turned green, you have 3 alignments here, 1, 2, 3. You enter the trade and you actually stay in the trade. So it was a very nice trade from 137 all the way to 157. And one of the things you see is also an improving trend on the daily charts. You've got confirmation from the daily chart as well as the 3-day chart here. So this allows you to analyze any stock in just by a quick visual aspect of it. Now here's another good example, which is UNH. Now, of course, there was a big spike in UNH, and that was related to some Trump announcement. But the fact is that much earlier, right, almost first thing in the morning, 6:37, we had an alignment on 4 signals, right? So 4 signals were aligned. This was color coded green, so you enter the trade, and you got a really nice trade. And as many of you know that I made about 170% in this trade. However, I entered the trade much later, right? But I still made some good money. And the other thing was the longer term chart was clearly supporting it, right? So I mean, I'd like at least 2 signals to be aligned. So you've got 2 aligned here. And so even if you entered the trade here when 2 signals were aligned, it was more closer to 250, and now the stock is trading at 270, right? Just in a couple days. Now we can take a look at a few other examples, and here's an example of Google. And same thing, right? I mean, you can take the trade when you get alignment from 2 different time frames. So in this case, the 15 as well as the daily. Or if you really want to be a little bit more patient, you would enter the trade here when everything is aligned. 4 signals, 1307, and this trade went from 1307 to 1334. And here's the same thing. What this is telling you that Google is in a nice uptrend because everything is aligned on all time frames from 15 to the week. So the likelihood of getting a good trade on this is quite high, right? And then you can look at any stock here, and this is the STC. This is on the short side, and you clearly can see just by visually inspecting it. Here was a decent short that triggered, or since there's no physical buy or sell arrow, but you can see it from here. The 3 arrows were aligned in the downward direction. It didn't even turn neutral once. You could actually stay in the trade. Now this turned yellow, but just on the shortest time frames. The other time frames didn't give you a signal yet to sell. So it's you could either take profits or you could stick with it because the higher time frames are still pointing in the short direction, which is evident from here as well. So hopefully this helps. We can look at a couple of stocks that are not in the list, just so I can show you that the analysis is pretty simple, pretty straightforward, and anybody can analyze this in a matter of like a couple seconds, right? So here's another good example, which is Boeing, and once it repaints, we can see, right? So in this case, of course, on the shortest time frame, we have a green signal, right? So if you are saying, okay, I can trade it on the 15, right? And so once it repaints, it's a little bit so, but you get the idea that this is green. You got alignment. You stay in the trade. Right about here, you can either take the trade off if it was a short-term trade, or you can stick with it. Now, clearly on the longer time frame, things aren't aligned yet, but it's not a short either, right? And as you've noticed in the last couple of days, Boeing has actually been doing, somewhat better. So it has at least turned from red to neutral, and then, once it starts to turn green, you will start seeing these to be aligned as well, right? And we'll take maybe a look at, let's take a look at DIA, which is the index for the Dow Jones Industrial, and you will see the same concept here. It's very, very easy to now make an analysis, right? So this is long, right around here, or even if you took the trade of the first green, you have 1, 2, 3 time frames aligned. You take the trade, you stay with the trade as long as it stays green. Again, on the daily time frame, right? I mean, you got an early entry here. You can add some more here as you get more time frames aligned, and right now you've got all 4 aligned. So there's no reason to be short this stock. unless you really want to pick a top. So hopefully this helps. Is also, as I said, it comes with 4 different uh, scans as well. In the first two, we're looking for confirmation from 4 time frames, and in the bottom two, it's getting confirmation from 3 different time frames, right? So there's 2 long and 2 short scans. So you can check it out on my website, the beardedinvestor.net. And if anybody's interested in giving a try to the Discord room that we have, please let me know, and I'll send you guys an invite. Hopefully this helps. Have a wonderful weekend. Bye bye.